Okay, hello everyone, welcome to Etemon TCG. Today we're going to be talking about the Sukamon deck that received a lot of support in BT11, which came out not too long ago now. It's a fantastic budget deck, super easy to pick up and play with. All the cards are relatively cheap. Some of the combos and strategies are really interesting as well, and lots of the effects are really interesting. So we're going to talk about some of the new cards and some of the combos and strategies that I've used with the deck to see success when playing it. So just as a general kind of overview and a look at the strategy here, the Sukamon deck in particular focuses on Sukamon obviously and KingSukamon, which has just come out in BT11. The aim of the deck is to spam out lots of really cheap level 4 Digimon, which benefit you when you do get to play a KingSukamon. You're kind of aiming to get 3 Sukamon in the trash in order to get a very strong effect from KingSukamon, which we'll look at a bit later on. But also the deck runs lots of Etemon and Tsukumon, which are good cards for helping you achieve that goal. The deck I found also is very good at generating a lot of memory. Cooties Kick, which is an option that came out in BT11, is really good at generating memory, as well as Parabolic Junk, which is an older card used for generating memory on Deletion. So taking a look at the level 3s we play in the deck here, we get to benefit from 2 very powerful Floodgates, Floodgates being a term in the Digimon TCG used to refer to cards that limit your opponent's ability to do something on their turn. We play the Tsukumon, the older one here that only lets you generate memory through tamer effects, only prevents your opponent from generating that memory, so we can still benefit from Parabolic and Cooties Kick and the boosts that we look at later on, as well as Tsukumon, which means both players can't reduce play costs. Fortunately, we don't do that, but lots of decks like Crossheart and Blue Flare and lots of these newer decks do use tools and systems like that, so it really helps to shut those down. Death X as well, a very powerful card, is prevented and shut down by this card as well. We also have the BT11 Digimon, again came out quite recently, really strong support for this deck. It lets you evolve into Sukamon for a reduced cost. It's already a super cheap evolution, so reducing that even more is very beneficial, and has a very strong inherited effect that lets you play a Tsukumon from the trash when it's deleted. So you're already trying to delete level 4, but this lets you benefit and continue your plays when you do delete them. And moving on to the level 4s here, these are kind of the meat of the deck. Lots of these you're just going to be hard playing because they're exceptionally cheap at 3 cost. Your Sukamon in particular, you can kind of just drop them when you need to spend 3 memory, just as you would a rookie and in most other decks, and then you can swing them straight into security and benefit from the very strong on deletion effects. Both Sukamon that we play in this deck have a strong on deletion effect, and you want them in the trash anyways, so swinging them into security you can get rid of massive effects in your opponent's security or very massive Digimon that you'd struggle to get over, and it doesn't matter because they're just 1k Digimon and you still get the on deletion effects of them. So these deletion effects again can be beefed up by using your memory option cards, your Parabolics and your Cooties Kicks, just to get more memory back, continue plays, and things like that. The Digimon here as well can be used to discard a Sukamon to draw 2 cards, so it's a great accelerator for plays as well. Moving on to the level 5s here, up front and centre you've got kind of the iconic KingSukamon here, just released in BT11. So lots of these BT11 cards have fantastic artwork that is kind of a callback to Digimon World 1. So if you've ever played that game, these cards are fantastically nostalgic. And so playing them, I've really enjoyed seeing the artwork and seeing the little nods to that game, which has been brilliant. But KingSukamon here is kind of the crown jewel of this deck. With 3 Sukamon in trash, which you're going to do quite effortlessly by swinging them or putting them there with Digimon and things like that. You can turn one of your opponent's Digimon into a Sukamon, which is a white Digimon with 3k DP, and then it gains security attack +1 for each Sukamon in play. Turning it into a white Digimon is really potent. Obviously then your opponent can't evolve onto it, can't do benefit from lots of the effects. Let's say if it's a Greymon, it says while this Digimon has Greymon in its name, because it will change its original name to Sukamon, so it won't get those effects. And say this Digimon gains security attack +1 for each Sukamon in play, which is on both sides, so it includes on your side and your opponent's side. Even though the Digimon is only 6k, you can sometimes eke out another 1 or 2 swings using that effect, which is really strong. BT11 Etemon in the back lets you minus 3k DP from a Digimon on play or on Digivolving, which obviously has some synergy here in that it lets you delete Sukamon that you've turned people into, or just lets you minimize the strong Digimon that your opponent are going to have on the field. And finally, you've got BT3 Etemon, which is a 6k blocker and lets you cheat out a metal Etemon by, when it dies, you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, and if you hit an Etemon, a level 6 with Etemon in its name, you can play it onto the field, and we'll look at the Etemon that we do play in just a moment that has a strong on-play effect. So moving on to the top end of the deck here, are level 6s. I only play one level 6. I play 4 copies of this metal Etemon from BT11, brand new 4-dimensional phase, the new set that's out. I felt that I've not needed any more level 6s. Say this Digimon is great and I consistently hit it with the BT3 Etemon, but really the major damage is coming from swinging with those small level 4s or swinging with the security attack KingSukamon. But this Digimon is fantastically cheap to evolve into, 3 cost for level 6s at this point in this game. That's not particularly much, and it will be even cheaper because you have things like Parabolic and things like that giving you lots and lots of memory, so really 3 memory is not a lot for this deck. When you Digivolve into it or when you play it off of BT3 Etemon, it lets you cheat out up to a play cost of 7. Digimon up to a play cost of 7. So this can be 2 level 4s, 2 level 3s, or a combination of the 2, or a level 5. So your BT3, or both Etemons and KingSukamon are 7 or under. So you can get one of those out, or 2 of one of your lower level Digimon, which is very beneficial. This card, even though it's 11k, it benefits greatly from the inherited effects of BT11 KingSukamon and Etemon, which say when this Digimon would be deleted, you can delete another Sukamon on the field to prevent the deletion of this Digimon. So you can either delete one of your own Sukamon, which will let you access some of your strong on deletion effects again, or you can delete the Sukamon of your opponent that you've turned them into to get rid of some strong boss monsters and things like that, which is very, very powerful. So moving on to some slightly more familiar faces here and staples of lots of yellow and black decks. We've got Reinforcing Memory Boost and Pride Memory Boost. These cards let you do an effect when you play them, and then have a delay effect that let you cash them in for some memory back. These are great for putting pressure on your opponent, so even if they're choking you out but you have these in the back, then you can cash them in to get some more memory to extend some plays or something like that, which is fantastic considering how cheap everything in this deck is. 3 memory from a Reinforcing Memory Boost goes a long way in this deck compared to a typical yellow deck. Pride in particular lets you cheat out your level 3s and 4s and then get some memory back later, so it's a strong option to play some of your Digimon off of, especially on your first couple turns, to then have that memory stored up for later turns where you need a bit more. Reinforcing gives you some sustain, lets you put your strong security effects like Pride or Cutie's Kick in the stack, as well as, say, letting you add Digimon to your hand. It's worth noting that Reinforcing is limited to 1, so we're only playing 1 in this deck because it's so potent. So we've got our option cards here. We've got 1 new card here with Cutie's Kick right up front and center, and we've got 2 in the back that I play, Code Cracking and Parabolic Junk, which I've mentioned a couple times throughout this demonstration. So Cutie's Kick and Parabolic Junk work well together, and that they both allow you to further benefit from those deletion effects of the Sukamons and Etemon in your deck. When Digimon are deleted, you can get some extra memory. Essentially gives your Digimon the effect of when it is deleted, you gain 2 memory for Parabolic Junk, or 3 memory from Cutie's Kick. So both of those are fantastic effects, just to further put pressure on your opponent when you're swinging with these low-cost Digimon, deleting them, which means nothing to you. In fact, it benefits you. In KingSukamon, you then get memory to continue these plays, get more of those Digimon out in the field, or be evolving into one of your bigger boss monsters. Code cracking I play in the deck as well, because it's a pretty cheap yellow option that provides great pressure to either push you further ahead defensively by letting you recover one, or push your opponent further behind by saying they have to trash a card from their security stack. I also think it's just a fun card and adds an element to Digimon that we don't see too often. So here on this slide we're going to be looking at one of the combos I think is very powerful for this deck. It starts off by having a BT3 Etemon on the field. It's not mandatory, but then you can beef this BT3 Etemon up with a Parabolic Junk. It's worth mentioning, with it being a blocker, this play can happen on either your opponent's turn or your turn. So either you can swing with it and let it die, or it being a blocker, you can use it to block something and kill it and benefit from this play, or your opponent may just delete it. Say Metal Greymon Antibody deletes a 6k Digimon, so Crimson Blaze, that sort of thing. Lots of stuff will just delete a 6k DP Digimon. So once it's deleted, you will obviously get your 2 memory, which may swing the turn back in your favour, or may just help shut down what your opponent had planned. But when it dies, we can then reveal the top 5, and if we're lucky, we'll get to cheat out a BT11 Metal Etemon, which has a strong effect that says on play, you can reveal the top 4 from your deck and then play up to a play cost of 7 from those cards revealed. So this will let you do things like cheat out then 2 Sukamon, or an Etemon, or a KingSukamon, which just for having one of your Digimon die or block an attack is very powerful and really lets you snowball ahead. So moving on to a play that I think is going to happen a lot earlier in the game here. If we have these 2 cards out, for example, this could be your setup from turn 1. You had this Tumon on the left set up in Raising, and you've just promoted it, and maybe you played the BT11 Tumon here just to put the turn in your opponent's court, and then it swings back to you, so your opponent has played some rookies and things like that themselves, maybe gone up into a level 4. But this is our setup coming back to us. Very easy to do, so hitting these 2 Tumon in your hand first turn is not impossible, and it happened quite consistently for me. So what we're going to do is we're then going to place a BT3 Sukamon on top of the BT11 Tumon. This is a reduced evolution cost because it gets -1 from the effect of BT11 Tumon, so this just costs us 1, which we'll have to have in order for it to be our turn. We can then swing with these and let them die. You're going to want to swing with the Tumon first. This will let you benefit from the Pagumon Baby Digitama effect, which says reveal the top card of your deck, add it to your hand if it's a black Digimon card. If it's not, then place it at the bottom of your deck. And then we trash the Tumon, maybe we get something strong at security for this little 1k Digimon. We then get to swing with the Sukamon. Again, just being 1k, it's probably going to die. This means that when the Sukamon dies, we get to reveal the top 3 from our deck. If we are lucky to hit another Tumon, we get to then play that. And then the BT11 Tumon has an inherited that says when it dies, you can play a Tumon from trash. So we can cheat out the first Tumon that we killed, and then play another Tumon that we revealed from our deck, which essentially puts us back to how we were at the start of the round, but we've taken 2 cards out of security. So we've not lost anything in particular. In fact, we've put a Sukamon in the trash, which benefits us in the long term, and we've gone back to square one, so we've not lost our Floodgate, which may be putting pressure on our opponent, and we've got another Tumon set up, which we can evolve into to kind of repeat the play on the next turn. So on screen now is the full deck list. If you want to pause here, I'll also leave in the description of the video the build I've used and a link to it so you can have a go through and see the different ratios of cards that I've used. The deck is fun, it's fast and interesting, but I don't think it's going to be a tournament topper by any means. Obviously, if you're having fun at a local, then it's going to do quite well. It's got the potency of new cards, so it's always going to be relatively competitive, but I don't think it's got the means to compete with some of the new cards that are topping tournaments at the moment. It is receiving future support, I believe, in RBO1. We're getting a Shin Monzaemon and things like that, which is going to also need other cards in the future, so we can sort of theory craft what's going to come out. Some level 5 Numemons and that sort of thing. It is very interesting, and I would recommend you try it. All the cards in the deck are relatively cheap, so do pick it up and try it. I hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to leave feedback on the deck, what you would change, what you would play, things that you would encourage others to try out to improve it, things like that. This deck is by no means its optimal state, so I'm interested to see what you guys suggest. Thank you very much.